Hi everyone, thanks for joining us and the SYA Summer Google Hangout. I'm Kate Martell, Admissions Marketing Manager here at SYA. And today I have some very special guests with me. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Hannah. I am a junior at the Brooks School in North Andover.
Whitney Herman, I'm Director of Summer Programs and an SYA Spain alumna.
Rachel Keegan-Kelly, Director of Admissions here at School Year Abroad. And I wanted to just give a brief overview of our summer program offerings. We have programs in the following countries. We have a summer program in China, Italy, France, and Spain. We have a 5-week program in each of those countries that is has various components. It is a language immersion program where you are taking classes in the morning, advancing your language study, and then you are touring the area with the group in the afternoons and exploring the region and understanding the culture and the people of the region that you're staying in. Another unique component of our summer program is the homestay. Our students live with local families on their own, and many of them are in reasonable close proximity to our school. But they have the opportunity to live with a family, frequently with students their own age, get to know that family, be part of that family for a 4-week period of the 5-week program before they have the opportunity to travel with the group around that country. So for example, in France, they have the opportunity to go to Paris at the end of the program and see that city and see all of the culture and the sights of that place. We have one final program that's actually a 3-week program in our Spain location. It is a similar format to the 5-week program, but slightly condensed, and that's a new offering this year. All of the program information is found on our website, sya.org. And if you click on summer, you'll see all of the detailed information. I will be back at the end of this hangout just to share with you a little bit about the application process and deadlines and answer any questions regarding the admissions process. But thank you all for coming, and we're really glad to be able to share a little bit about our summer programs with you.
Great, thanks Rachel. So for those of you who have seen Hangout before, maybe not, the format is that we are going to chat with Hannah for a little bit with some Q&A, and she'll answer some of the most frequently asked questions of prospective students, and then we'll open it up to questions from you. So if you have questions for Hannah or Whitney or Rachel, please be sure to put them in the chat box underneath on the event page, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. So Whitney, would you like to talk a little bit more about SYA summer programs?
Sure. I guess the part I'd like to address is the why. Why is a summer program or a year-long program so valuable for students? And it's primarily because it's a holistic experience, and it's authentic, and it's multidimensional, multisensorial. You get to really experience the language and culture every minute of the day. So we like to say that the world is your classroom rather than just the actual classroom. As Rachel said, the day is broken up into segments of classes, activities, time with your host family, hangout time. But all of those periods are designed so that you can practice and interact and use the language, again, in a very authentic way, not just using the vocabulary that you would learn in chapter 7 of your textbook at school. For many people, as was the case for me before I did SYA in high school, language learning in the classroom can be difficult. For others, it's easier to hear it, repeat it, kind of see examples of language being used. So a summer program can be a great way to really focus on the language and not have to worry about, oh, I only have, half an hour to do Spanish homework. I really need to be doing science and history and everything else. No, this is your time just to focus on the language and the culture, to enjoy it, to live it. And I think you'll really see that your skills can advance quite a bit.
Great. Thanks, Whitney. So now we're going to chat for a little bit with Hannah. So again, if you have any questions for Hannah or any of us here, please put them in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. So Hannah, would you like to reintroduce yourself? Tell us where you went to school and talk a little bit about why you decided to go to SYA Summer.
Yeah, of course. So again, I'm Hannah Latham. I'm a day student junior at the Brooks School in North Andover. I knew about SYA because my advisor, Mr. McLaughlin, he runs the China program over the summer, and also my Spanish teacher, Lillian Miller, is the coordinator for SYA at Brooks. I knew other students at Brooks who had gone to the full year program, and I was really interested in doing that. But I knew it would be hard for my parents to pull off, and I would also be missing out on a lot of school things, and I wasn't too excited about that. So I started looking into the summer program, which I thought was a really neat opportunity, specifically for Spain because I speak Spanish at school. And I've been interested in Spanish, and I had a hard time really learning it. Like you said, it's different learning in the classroom than going abroad. And so I looked into Spain as an opportunity to be immersed into the culture, to stay with a host family. I never left the country before. Going to Spain was my first time abroad, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity because I've traveled with my family before, but it's not the same. I hate being a tourist. I hate being the American with the camera, and with SYA, you get the opportunity to stay with the family and try and get away from that. When I was in Spain, there was a time when I was crossing the street and the woman asked me like what bus number that was in Spanish, and I was like, yes, I made it. Like I'm not just a tourist. So that's why I wanted to do SYA and specifically Spain.
Great. Yeah, that's when you know you've made it, is when you're being asked directions.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what was your biggest adventure at SYA Spain? I know Rachel mentioned each of the groups travel. Where did you travel to when you were there?
Yeah, so in Spain, we traveled to a bunch of different places at various points throughout the 5-week trip. A lot of people, or a lot of the students sometimes would, on weekends, travel with their host families to farther away places. And in Spain, it was different than it is here. Like people will go on an 8-hour bus ride for a weekend, and we tend not to do that in the United States. But it was really neat because you got to go to a bunch of different places. Like we went to Madrid around the 4th of July time, I believe.
That's cool.
And that was really neat. But my favorite was when we went to Barcelona. At the end of the trip, we drove to the Dalí Museum and we went to Costa Brava and on the coast. And then made our way to Barcelona. And Barcelona is the most beautiful city in the world. I've never been somewhere that beautiful. But we also, at the beginning, when we did our orientation, kind of get to know the other students who were there. We were in Jaca, in the mountains, so you could see France when we went kayaking. Cool. But I would say Barcelona was definitely my favorite. You get to while you were going to school, you got to know the other students like you who were from the States or there was a kid from Italy and a kid from London as well, and the Czech Republic actually. So it's not all from the States, but you get to know those people, you make your friends, and then you travel to Madrid and Barcelona and you're pretty much set free with them. And so I got to, in a way, you meet up at certain times.
There are checkpoints.
Yeah, there are checkpoints, so you don't get lost. We have to meet at the cathedral at 2 with everyone and meet up with Marta. But yeah, you get to explore with your friends, and I just remember running around with my best friends from one museum to the next, and we were trying to get to the Miro Park in the middle of Barcelona, and we ran into the National Museum of Catalonia. We're at the top, and then there were all these waterfalls going down, and we just ran into that. We weren't planning on going there, and so looking down over the entire city, I would say that was my biggest adventure.
That sounds amazing. Crazy. Sometimes the best things that happen are the unplanned ones, where you just kind of find yourself in this moment. That sounds amazing. So other than travel, you were taking language classes.
Yes.
And so how did the summer program prepare you for your language class when you got back to school in the fall?
Well, I think it definitely helped my Spanish, and I don't think I would have improved in this way with any other experience. Because usually, you know, you learn Spanish, you take your language at school, and then you have the summer off and you don't speak it the entire summer.
Right.
And so it's like going back to, not fully, but going back to square one every time, every September. So this way, not only did I continue like speaking it, I got to improve it, and I got to learn some slang. I got to speak to, like, that was my way of communicating. You're forced to speak the language, and it's scary, but that's how you learn. And going to school with other students, they're going through the same thing. So it's nice not being alone, but also being forced to speak the language. What else?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's a common theme, is that kids say that alums say that you're all going through the same crazy kind of experience together, so that you form this close-knit friendships. And you mentioned that you were going to see one of your Spain friends in the future.
Yeah, in June I'm going to try and go see my friend Jenny in Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, and she went to Spain with me. So.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about, if you would, please, your host family. And there's some videos on YouTube from the Spain summer program last year that Hannah is in, so you can pick her out in those videos that shows some of the meeting and greeting of the host families. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the structure was like, what you did on the weekends, and if it was similar or different from what your home life is like here?
Well, I think it was definitely different than being at home, which was good. It was a challenge. I had an all-girl host family, so that was really fun. Where normally at home, I have my dad and my brother are there. So it was me, and I had two older host sisters, but they were close enough to my age that I could still connect with them, and they kind of lived the same sort of teenage life that I do. And then my host mom, and they had two dogs. Who were very funny. They would greet you at the door every day. Every time you moved, they would bark and come see you. But it was really, they were really welcoming and friendly and everything you'd hope them to be, which is really great to know. On weekends, we usually would go visit my host mom's parents in Calatrava, which is because Zaragoza is this more of a city, so we were more into the suburbs, lots of farms, and that was really cool. They lived in where a lot of grandparents lived, I would say, but you'd really, I mean, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no service or anything, so like I would read my book all day, and normally I don't read that much, but they'd comment on how I was like a bookworm, and but I really got to speak a lot of Spanish there and get to know a different part of the life.
And sort of had an extended family.
Yes,
too.
yes, and that was really neat. So most weekends we would be there, but I think it was the 4th of July weekend, there was like a color run that was in the city, and my host sister really wanted to go to that. So my friend Jenny and I went to the color run, but it wasn't really a run. It was more of a dance, even though they called it a color run. I don't know if running is a huge thing. But yeah, they had like bubble machines where they had like foam everywhere. I've seen those before, yeah. Those are cool. Yeah, you had the color packets, and they had a DJ. It was so much fun. We were there all day, and to be there with my host sister and all her friends and my friend, it was so fun. I have videos from that. You can probably find that on YouTube as well.
I think they did that this year in the fall and the year long too. I'm pretty sure we saw pictures of them.
Oh my God,
tutus and covered in colors and things like that. So what about a piece of advice for a student who's considering SYA?
So one thing is, if you're planning on going, look into the look into the culture before you go. Like, do you take your shoes off before you enter the house? Like, is it polite to do certain things? Is it rude to do certain things? Like, do some research about where you're going before you go, so you know what to look for. I was really big into going to the museums and like what were the things I needed to see when I went to Barcelona, when I went to Madrid. So do that research so that when you go, you can be like, oh yeah, like I looked at that online and like now I'm actually seeing it. I saw a ton of Dali and Pablo Picasso works that I'd like seen in textbooks, and I was actually standing in front of it. But yeah, the other culture things, like you don't take off your shoes when you enter the house. I don't, yeah, and I had never known that, because here it kind of depends. Yeah, other, like, try and just interact with your family as much as you can. Try and speak as much as you can. I was kind of guilty of not doing that in the beginning because it is a little frightening and you gotta settle in a little bit. But my friend was really good about, like, even though she wasn't as confident in her Spanish, she would just like speak. She would just say something so that just to try and get a conversation going, and get to know the place before you go. Get to know what are these people going to be like. You get to hear who your host family is a little bit earlier on. Mm-hmm. So I emailed back and forth with my host mother. Like, try and do that so that you set the stage and you kind of show that you're a good person early on. Yeah. So they are looking forward to having you.
The other thing I was going to mention that I didn't mention earlier about language is that in China, France, and Spain, we have an AP track. It's not a prep course like SAT prep, but it's designed really for students who would like to go into AP language and culture in the fall. So it kind of gets you ready, geared up, because maybe you didn't do as well the year before. Maybe the school said you couldn't advance to AP and you really want to get over that hump and get in there. So that there is a section of that. So the students really range in level from having only taken 2 years of Spanish or French or Chinese. We mostly have beginners in Italy, to kids who have already taken the AP. So there's a real range. So it doesn't really matter where you're at in your language learning. There's a lot more to learn. There always will be. It's a lifelong journey.
Right. And to your point, learning in a textbook at school, even if you have taken several years of a language, is different, and the experience is complementary to that. And like you said, you learn slang and things like that, colloquialisms,
little things you wouldn't learn any other way.
Right.
Yeah, I only had 2 years of high school Spanish going into it, but there were other students there who were going into AP Spanish literature. It may seem really scary. It was for me, but you will figure it out. There are other people like you. There's a range of levels. So if you're worried about your Spanish or wherever you're going, your language not being as developed, this is your opportunity so that it will develop.
Great, absolutely. Yeah. So we don't have any questions as of now. So if you do have questions, post them in the chat box. But Rachel, do you want to talk just a little bit about deadlines, rolling admissions, and that type of thing?
Yeah, so we are currently accepting applications for all of our summer programs. The summer program, the 5-week as well as the 3-week summer program in Spain. That application is live on our website, SYA.org. The application process is pretty straightforward. We do ask you to submit a piece and send a writing sample, but also we do ask for teacher recommendations, which you will see. There are language requirements for our France and Spain and China programs. In Italy, there is no language requirement, so it's 2 years in France and Spain and 1 in China of the actual language. And in Italy, we do teach Italian. It is a required course as part of our summer curriculum, but we don't expect students to have had any previous Italian experience. So learning Italian. So, but it definitely is, like we said, the programs are language-based, and if you're interested in learning language, you do not have to have an A+ in language or be the best language student to really take advantage of these language and culture programs. So our application's live. We're accepting applications now. We have many submitted applications, but we still have lots of space. We will start our rolling admissions process, which means we will, as soon as an application becomes complete, we will render a decision on that. And those decisions begin going out January 14th. So it's pretty close. You still have lots of time over the holiday to get your application submitted and in, but you will begin to hear from us mid-January. We will work to enroll those programs until they're full, and then we will move to a wait list. So if you are interested, we definitely encourage you to submit your application over the holidays. And we're around. Send us questions. We're happy to answer those. Our office is open over the holidays. And so we will be as responsive as we can. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. And make sure you can also check us out on social and see what some of our current students are doing. We're on Facebook at SYA Admissions and Twitter, SYA Admissions. And we're also here on Google Plus and Instagram as School Year Abroad. So you can check out those social sites, follow us, like us, and tweet at us if you're working on your application or if you have any questions. And as Rachel said, please be in touch. We'll be monitoring the event for questions for the next couple of days. You can always get in touch with us, and you can visit our website, sya.org. So we wish everyone happy holidays, happy new year, and we can't wait to read your applications. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
all. Happy holidays.